Have you seen any changes in the criminal justice world over the 30 years you've been working in it?
Here's the biggest change with everybody having a cell phone camera, with all the cameras in the public world, with Twitter and Snapchat and Facebook and everything else. We're in this completely voyeuristic world where there's no privacy. What I find now is that because everybody's watching everybody, the prosecutors are acting not to do what's right, I think, all the time, or what's appropriate, but rather their first question they ask themselves is, am I going to get in trouble? Am I going to get criticized? I'll give you this if I'm not going to get criticized.
Welcome to Harry Handles It, a podcast where we dive into the world of personal growth, success strategies, and everything in between. I'm your host, Levin Nalbandyan, and today we're going to chat with an incredible guest who has some amazing insights to share. Remember, no matter what life throws your way, I'm here to help you handle it. So let's get started.
Welcome, Steve Sitkoff, to the Harry Handles It podcast. You're a criminal defense lawyer with over 30 years of experience practicing throughout Los Angeles and probably the state. Welcome.
Thank you.
How are you?
Nice to be here.
Pleasure to meet you.
You too.
Can you tell our listeners a little bit about your journey to becoming a criminal defense lawyer?
Well, let's see. It started in college where I was a cinema major at UCLA, and when I graduated, I had no idea what I wanted to be. Took a year off, taught Italian cinema at UCLA for a year. Then I went to law school because the choice from my parents was either go back to school or get a job, and was not interested in working yet. So I thought, oh, let's go to law school. You can be anything you want.
That's a good option.
Get through 3 years of law school, and now I'm really scared because I don't like most of the people I met there. I didn't like most of the subject matter. Fortunately, my criminal law professor was a basketball player, and he played basketball with us, and he took me under his wing, and he said, the only thing that you're going to have fun doing is in the prosecutor's office, so I'm going to help you become a Los Angeles County DA, and that's what he did. And that's how I started in the criminal world.
And so how did you I think we were talking offline and you said 7 years you were in that role for?
Look, it was a great experience. I mean, I spent my first year and a half in the Compton courthouse, which is one of the most notorious ones in LA. I did probably 20 jury trials in a year and a half.
Amazing.
I mean, that's probably more than most civil litigators have done their whole life. I then went into the sex crimes division, prosecuted sex crimes. I then was the only DA in LA. There's over 1,000 DAs in LA. The only one doing the serial rape cases. So I prosecuted serial rapists for a couple of years. And then I got promoted. I was in charge of the Compton Juvenile Office, and then was thinking I wanted to be a judge. And so made some inquiries, and Judge Robert Milano, who was the presiding judge of the LA courts at the time, helped me become a Superior Court Commissioner, which is what I did next.
That's amazing. How did you like that experience going from
So it's one of those things where be careful what you wish for, because you may get it. Because I thought all I wanted to do was be a judge. I think the first thing that maybe told me this wasn't so great is my assignment was the children's courthouse, where I got to listen to 50 to 60 cases a day of children being neglected and abused. So not as uplifting as you might like.
Yeah.
But really what got me is, in that courthouse, as you can imagine, there's a lot of unhappiness. And to make a long story short, I helped a kid get his dog back in the court, the dog was taken away when his mother was arrested for a DUI. And he was in court crying, and we have no happiness in this courthouse. And so and all the lawyers are always at each other, the county counsel, the public defender, everybody's at each other. I brought them all together. I said, let's do something collaborative. So we all worked. We got the dog sprung from the pound. We brought the dog into the court, gave the dog to the kid. There wasn't a dry eye in the courtroom. Everybody's happy. Everybody's wonderful. A couple weeks later, I get a call from the new presiding judge of LA saying, I heard you had a dog in your court. Someone could have gotten bit, could have a disease. You're opening the courts to liability. And I'm thinking, you've never worked in this courtroom, have you? And anyway, that was one of, and I could go on and on for several hours of how the bureaucracy finally said to me, time for a change. And so where I pivoted was I got appointed as one of 14 lawyers on the first Mexican mafia RICO case in federal court in LA. And that kept me going for about a year and a half. And then I went into my own private practice.
Wow.
Now that was an experience working for the Mexican, well, not for the Mexican mafia, but representing one of their members.
That experience range is, I feel like, pretty elite for a criminal defense attorney in private practice to be able to offer.
I can tell you, it's one of the things I can say. I've seen it from everywhere. There isn't much I haven't experienced, and I tell everybody, and it's true, to do what I do effectively, much less important to be number one in your class in law school. You got to be able to dodge fastballs from Randy Johnson in his prime, heading for your head, because that's what I'm doing all day. I'm dodging those fastballs at my head.
That's a great way to put it. And
I'm reminded of there was an all-star game where Randy Johnson was pitching against John Kruk from the Phillies, and John Kruk was bailing out before Johnson even pitched because he said, this guy's going to hit me. So every day I'm dodging balls.
In terms of offering this service to the community, how do you advertise for?
So, look, it's a really good question, and it raises another question I'm asked a lot. Like, hey, you used to be a prosecutor. You prosecuted bad people. How do you now defend bad people? How do you do that? How do you do that morally? And I say to them, that's not what it is. First of all, I'm not the lawyer who's going to be usually representing the person who killed 3 people in a drive-by shooting. That person usually is not hiring their own lawyer. That's not my kind of case. What I really do is I help good people who exercise bad judgment and with their lives. And I'm not just looking to get someone out of their case. I want them to have a future. I'll give you a great example of a tiny little crime that could have had an unbelievable negative impact on this person's life. Person's walking down the strand of Hermosa Beach with a cup of beer. That's a misdemeanor. Can't walk around with an open container. It's not the biggest deal in the world. No one's going to jail. You're not going to prison, none of that. But this guy's in the firefighting academy to be a firefighter. Yeah. And if he gets convicted of this, his career is gone. So I helped him, get that dismissed and get his career going. So the crime, minor, but big ramification. Another example of a more serious crime. Person's at a party in Bel Air. They're drunk and they need to get something from the car. They go down to their car. When they come back, they go to the house next door. They don't go to the party house. And they break in because they think it's the house. And then he passes out and the owner of the house finds him in the morning, passed out, and has him arrested for burglary. The guy's the head of a major hedge fund, stockbroker. He's got licensing with SEC, FINRA. I mean, clearly he wasn't trying to burglarize the house. He's being stupid. Now we got to save his career and also help the people whose house he invaded. Those are examples of where I can really make a difference, and that's what I like to do.
Those are great stories, and it's great for people to know that avenue of help exists. How has technology helped in your criminal defense practice over the years?
Well, I think it's probably in most ways it's helped the way it's helped most people. You can do so many different things at the same time, or it's the blessing and the curse. I mean, when's the last time you went on a vacation and didn't work?
Yeah, I mean, it follows you everywhere.
The only time I think that happens to people who have any kind of ambition is before there were cell phones and email and internet and all that, right? So 30 years, 25, whatever years ago. I think, but with technology, look, again, a blessing and a curse. Lawyer advertising. I personally would love it if the state bar disallowed it. because my best cases are from people who know me, referrals from other lawyers, business managers, accountants. And I don't, criminal laws, you're a PI lawyer, right?
Personal injury.
Personal injury.
Workers'
Okay, so
compensation.
same thing. Your industry is rife with people who are trying to get over. They're not legitimate. And people lump you. They call PI lawyers and criminal lawyers. They almost lump us all in the same, like something's wrong with us or something.
Yeah.
And really what it is you've got these internet people who they barely know what they're doing in court, but they know how to game Google. And where if a case costs $5,000 to do properly, they'll charge $5,000, but they'll say, "Hey, give me $1,000 now, $50 a month," and they recognize they may never get the rest of the money. That's their business model. I'm not taking that case because I'm not going to take a case unless I do it right. And I tell people, I said, I can't do your case for $1,500, and I'm not going to take a payment plan of $50 a month. I mean, I accommodate people and help people, but I think technology, that's the negative side. The positive side, though, is I learned the hard way when I lost a pretty good referral when I wasn't checking my email on my phone. I was waiting to get to my office. I don't do that anymore.
Wow.
I
mean, it's funny in this you have to provide a legal service, and then you also have to apply client service. So you need both worlds for the relationship to really succeed.
It's true. And, the human beings that we represent have a great capacity to not accept responsibility for their actions. For example, in my world, someone might say, "How come I have to do the year-long DUI program?" Well, maybe because you were 3 times the legal limit. In your world, I'm sure you have people oftentimes saying, "Wait a second, I think I should get more. That's not how much I should get." Or how come you're taking so much when you got it done so quickly? I don't understand. And people say that to me too, and I say, "Well, should I have waited and told you the good results 6 months from now? Not told you that I got you, what you want, right?" So
Yeah.
you kind of know what I mean, right?
I do, exactly. And, no good deed goes unpunished, right?
You know what? It's so true. But I think, the same professor who helped me get in the DA's office said, "You only have to do one thing to be successful in what you do." He says, "Be a decent human being. If you're a decent human being, everything else will follow." I try to do that, and generally it works. I'll give you a great example of that. When I was going to court a lot before the pandemic, inevitably I'd be late to some court. And the judge would say, "Hey, you're late. You're supposed to be here a half hour ago." I hear all these lawyers making all my dog ate my homework stories. Every story in the world. And probably most were legitimate. I'm sure they were. They're not lying. I never did that. I never do that. I always say the same thing. "You know what, Your Honor? You're right. And I'm sorry." And that's it. Because that's the end of it. If you just tell the truth, say, "You're right. I should have been here a half hour ago. I apologize." Now what?
You've taken it away from them,
It's exactly right. But when you give them the story, then it invites them to say, "Well, you know what? The fact that your daughter had a meltdown before school is not my problem." Right? The fact that your dog, pooped in the house and you had to clean up, not my problem.
What do you think is a common misconception about the criminal defense attorney field?
I think that we're trying to help criminals get over on the world or something. It's just not true. The government is so at times lazy, incompetent, uncaring that we defense lawyers are needed to provide insurance that they do things right. I tell the prosecutors all the time. I remind them of what I was told the first day in the DA's office. Your job is not to convict people. Your job is to seek justice. That's the last time they follow that. Because what you find when you're in the DA's office is, how do you get promoted? You better get convictions. You better win jury trials. But that's not... The DA said, Gil Garcetti was the DA when I was the DA there. He said, you win no matter what. You put on your case, the jury makes the decision, the judge makes the decision, you've done your job. I tell the prosecutors all the time when they're complaining about things, "Hey, do your job. Just do your job and everything will fall into place.
Yeah, follow the rules. These are the rules.
Follow the
Sometimes
rules.
you got to remind them.
And, most prosecutors, most police, I think, are good people, like in any profession. There's always bad apples in any, but right now, I think police, not a great time to be a police officer. As far
It's
as how
hard.
people feel
It's really
about
hard. How do you feel about the handling of the recent wildfires, or what we could do as a better?
Well, it's
as
an
a city
interesting
to
one because
help?
I'm in the middle of it. I live in the area.
Awesome.
I don't live in everybody calls the Palisades fire. I live on the border of Palisades and Brentwood. I live just from my backyard. I look into the Palisades. From my backyard, on the Tuesday night it started, I could see the fire in my backyard. I have
Wow.
pictures of videos of airplanes dropping water in my backyard.
Oh,
My house is standing. My neighborhood is messy. We're lucky in that respect. As far as the response, the firefighters, unbelievable. I've we passed out blueberry muffins to them the other day. We had
man.
firefighters who drove 3 days from Oregon to help, who were parked in front of my house in the Palisades. Now, the response, what they should have been prepared for, that's a whole different thing. Terrible.
I hear you.
And the opportunists bother me. So, this guy, Rick Caruso, who has his little village in the Palisades that was saved because he has private firefighters who took care of it. He's criticizing the mayor for her being away when this happened. Here's the problem with that. She left before it happened. And she came back right when it happened.
Yeah.
But, politicians don't always say exactly what's going on. So we'll see. I don't know if you know this area, but our whole part of town's been devastated. Pretty bad.
It's so,
The families.
there are no words to the people who just lost everything.
There's kids, and my kids go to a private school here in the West Side. 20 families lost their homes. It's just, and these are all people who have money. That's not what it's about. It's not about money. It's about everything, all your things, your memories,
Safety,
your stuff.
all your things, your sense of security.
Yep, all those things.
Well, I'm glad everything is
Yeah,
as
no, we're doing okay. Thank you. But yeah, I've got good experience because I'm in the middle of it. We just got back to our house a couple of days ago. We were out 2 weeks.
well. Welcome back.
Yeah, thank you.
Have you seen any changes in the criminal justice world over the 30 years you've been working in it?
Oh, well, yeah. Here's the biggest change with everybody having a cell phone camera, with all the cameras in the public world, with Twitter and Snapchat and Facebook and everything else. We're in this completely voyeuristic world where there's no privacy. What I find now is that because everybody's watching everybody, the prosecutors are acting not to do what's right, I think, all the time, or what's appropriate, but rather their first question they ask themselves is, am I going to get in trouble? Am I going to get criticized? I'll give you this if I'm not going to get criticized. And I'll tell you, I had a judge. So you familiar with that case up at Stanford where that swimmer got supposedly a sweetheart deal in a date rape case, and then the judge got removed from the bench? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, can you give us some more details?
Okay. So about 2.5 years ago, there was a judge who had been a judge 17 years up in Palo Alto, sentenced a person who got a deal in a date rape case. And the important part is he was criticized heavily by different organizations. A woman professor at Stanford led the charge to have him removed from the bench, to have him recalled because of his decision. And it was successful. He was removed. He was recalled. Been a judge 17 years. Nobody knew this person existed until this one case. He made one unpopular decision and lost his job. Now, people say to me, well, do you think what he did was right? And I say it kind of doesn't matter, because the independence of the judiciary is important. And so this person does this. And now every judge, state judge, because federal judges are there for life. They don't have to worry about it. But a state judge runs for election every 6 years and is subject to recall. And I had a judge not too long ago call me up to sidebar, off the record say, Steve, I believe what you're asking for is appropriate, but I'm not going to do it because I think about that judge up in Palo Alto. I said, Your Honor, it's just like when I say, hey, I'm sorry, you're right, I'm late. I said, thank you for being honest. Thank you for telling me the truth. And I respect that. That's one of the biggest problems, I think, in the judiciary and in the prosecutor's office is they're too concerned with optics and what people are going to think and how it's going to affect them rather than doing the right thing all the time.
Well, thank you for sharing all that, Steve. Thank you so much. How can our listeners get in touch with you, find you?
So it's fairly easy. I have a website that I think is easy to remember, formerdistrictattorneys.com. So
that's great.
You can find me at formerdistrictattorneys.com. Phone number is 310-312-8055. And just Google my name, you'll find me. And look, one other thing I don't do. A lot of people charge for consultations in the criminal world. I don't. Main reason is they're very emotional, and I don't want people worrying about money when they take some time to tell me what's going on. So I am glad to help anyone who has questions. I tell everyone the same thing. If you hire me, great. And if you don't, you can still call me and ask me questions. So, and you can ask me questions anytime you want. And hopefully you, Harry, will never need my services.
But we'll call you if I have any questions, for sure.
I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for this conversation, Steve. It was a great time.
You bet. You too. Nice to meet you. Take care.
Take care.
Thanks for joining us today on Harry Handles It. I hope you enjoyed our conversation and found some valuable takeaways. If you're facing challenges in your own life or business, remember that you're not alone. Together, we can handle anything that comes our way. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review if you like what you heard. Until next time, keep pushing forward and handling life with confidence.